The day I bit my childhood friend. My tooth started hurting at noon. I went to the hospital in the afternoon. There were no regular appointments available. The receptionist kindly informed me there was another type of appointment available. As I lay back in the dental chair, watching a tall man in a white coat walk in with an entourage of medical students, his entire presence radiating an aloof, professional coolness, I realized the other type wasn't a specialist appointment, but a teaching appointment. What I didn't anticipate was that 3 hours later, I'd be fighting back pain while leaving matching sets of teeth marks on both of my doctor's hands. 1. Toothaches aren't a disease until they're killing you. When I rushed into the hospital clutching my swollen cheek, I never imagined the person examining my teeth would be Grayson Fletcher, my childhood neighbor, who'd stuck to me like gum for 20 years, dedicating himself to one mission, sabotaging every romantic prospect I'd ever had. Now here I was, half my face swollen, lying before him like a fish on a cutting board. He stood over me, looking down with those white coat vibes amplifying his detached clinical aura. Holding my chart, his dark eyes, the only feature visible above his mask, showed zero emotion. He might as well have had "We're strangers" tattooed across his forehead. Patient, Scarlett Chen, age 25, no known allergies. Chief complaint, inflamed wisdom tooth. Patient, please confirm your information. That monotone delivery like an AI assistant, and yet the female students behind him were already blushing, whispering among themselves. Dr. Fletcher is so handsome. His voice is incredible. I rolled my eyes, utterly unimpressed. If only they'd seen little Grayson, missing his 2 front teeth with that dopey grin, they wouldn't be so starry-eyed. Patient, please confirm your information, he repeated coldly. I nodded. It's correct. Turn your head. I need to examine your mouth. I had no choice but to face him. Open. I licked my lips and stubbornly refused. Can't. It hurts. Get the mouth prop. Wait, I think I can open it now. Gritting through the pain, I forced my mouth open as wide as possible. Grayson inserted the dental mirror, beckoning his students to observe. Her bite alignment is off. No wonder she's prone to cavities. Clear horizontal wear patterns. Obviously, she brushes incorrectly. Front tooth damage, she must love sunflower seeds. The students critiqued my dental hygiene thoroughly before turning to Grayson for his summary. He made a sound of acknowledgement, then gently poked my inflamed wisdom tooth with an explorer. My face contorted in agony. In stark contrast to my misery was his steady voice delivering his lecture. The patient's wisdom tooth hasn't fully erupted. The X-ray shows horizontal impaction. A pericoronitis pocket has formed around the gum tissue. In this condition, food particles ferment easily, leading to decay and inflammation. Grayson pointed to the monitor beside him. I couldn't resist glancing at it too. There on screen was my enormous tooth, one barely peeking through the gum, the adjacent one still sporting what appeared to be half a piece of chive. Wait, what's this? Following Grayson's words, the explorer prodded around, revealing a perfectly translucent strand of glass noodle. Me. I closed my eyes. As long as I couldn't see them, the embarrassment couldn't catch me. After what felt like an eternity, I finally heard Grayson say, "Patient needs to reduce the inflammation first. Come back tomorrow for follow-up." I climbed down from the dental chair and approached him to collect my chart. His elegant fingers typed on the keyboard, characters dancing across the screen. Remembering my earlier humiliation, I stammered, "So, about today." Without looking up, he scrawled his signature and handed me the prescription. Remember to rinse after meals, especially after eating chive dumplings. Who was the one who used to hang around my house refusing to leave because he loved my mom's chive dumplings? Now he was judging me for eating them. I sat in the infusion room getting my IV, unable to figure out how to keep Grayson quiet about the whole chive dumpling in my wisdom tooth incident. Mainly, I needed to keep this from his mother, my enthusiastic neighbor, Mrs. Fletcher, who'd earned the nickname the broadcasting station in our apartment complex. Poor me, 25 years old and perpetually single, still hoping the aunties would introduce me to eligible bachelors. As I fretted, my phone buzzed. My editor was messaging me. "Babe, how's the new picture book concept coming?" Like seeing a lifeline, I immediately asked for her advice. How can I make a man keep a secret in the shortest time possible? Seconds later, "Babe, purely from a plot perspective, I think you should seduce him." Seduce? Grayson? mainly because whenever I thought of him as a kid covered in mud after we'd played together, I just couldn't go through with it. Scarlett Chen, remember to come back tomorrow for your second dose. The nurse removed my IV, then pointed to the hospital's Star Doctor board on the wall. Doctor, Fletcher's appointments book up fast. Looking at Grayson's unmasked photo, I realized that in just a few years apart, this guy had reached new heights of handsome. His features were refined and deep-set, his jawline smooth and perfect. He'd shed all traces of youthful awkwardness. No wonder his photo showed the most wear and tear on the entire wall. I stared at him for a while, finally making up my mind. I asked my editor, how do I seduce him? My phone buzzed repeatedly. My editor sent several videos. I randomly clicked on one. On stage, a beautiful woman danced seductively as the audience roared. I got it. And so, among the flow of people entering and exiting the hospital, I sat studying the woman's expressions on my phone, mimicking her smile, her winks, until a familiar, cool voice interrupted. Scarlett, what's wrong with your face? It was Grayson. I quickly took a deep breath, then deployed my best technique, looking up, smiling, winking. He looked at me, unmoved. I tried again, smile, wink, smolder. He finally reacted, clearly stunned. He paused, then reached toward me. Come with me. Success! I quickly grabbed his hand and followed him to his office. As soon as we entered, he pressed me down into the dental chair. I struggled to calm my racing heart. Dr. Fletcher, you brought me here to... Before I could finish, a cold dental mirror was shoved into my mouth. Grayson frowned, staring at my teeth with deep concern. Did you injure a facial nerve? Let me examine you again. I gave him a wounded look. But soon I couldn't even manage that. The pain had me performing facial acrobatics. Strange. The inflammation appears reduced. Why are the symptoms worse? He set down his instruments. Could the nurse have given you the wrong injection? I struggled down from the chair, and after recovering, I sashayed over to him, draping one arm around his neck. The injection was fine. I feel particularly good right now. His gaze settled on me. Did you throw out your back? Me, too. With men like Grayson, who have zero romantic sense, there's no point in being subtle. I took a deep breath and yanked him toward me. Scarlett, what are you? His elegant neck and refined collarbone were suddenly right before me. The lemon-scented detergent on his shirt mixed with the hospital's antiseptic smell, creating a devastatingly attractive combination. I snuck a glance at his expression. While my heart was racing out of control, he remained completely calm, looking at me like I was that ancient well in our apartment complex courtyard, deep and unfathomable. Inexplicable frustration rose in my chest. I grabbed his left hand and bit down. A row of uneven teeth marks stood out starkly. He didn't even glance at it, just looked at me and raised an eyebrow. Tooth doesn't hurt anymore? It hurt, but more unbearable than the toothache was his complete indifference. I clenched my teeth and bit his other hand through the pain. 2 perfectly symmetrical ovals. Perfect. I hissed through the pain. It hurts, but biting you makes me feel better. He made a sound of acknowledgement, then slowly guided me toward the door. Before I could stop him, he pulled it open a crack. Scarlett. He pointed down the hallway. Go straight. Up to the 3rd floor, second door that's the hospital's patient complaint office. I clung to his neck, our eyes locked. I must have looked ridiculous, because he actually laughed. This was so pointless. Dejected, I released my legs and jumped down, accidentally catching my phone's earphone cord. Clatter. My phone hit the floor, the earbuds disconnected, and suddenly, the speaker was blasting seductive music, while the screen displayed a muscular man performing on a stripper pole. I frantically grabbed my phone and locked the screen, face burning. Don't get the wrong idea. I don't usually watch this kind of thing. He nodded knowingly, even picking up my earbuds for me. I know. I just started to relax when he continued mildly. You've always liked muscle-bound guys, I remember. Me. Actually, my supposed love of muscle guys was a complete misunderstanding. Back in school, everyone said Grayson and I were a couple. To prove them wrong, I told my desk mate I liked tall, muscular guys that someone refined like Grayson wasn't my type at all. Somehow, it became that I liked Schwarzenegger-type muscle mountains. Grayson had gotten upset about it, stopped waiting for me after school, and secretly worked out with a punching bag for ages. If I told him now that all that sweat was actually just the water I'd poured into his brain, he'd probably broadcast my humiliation immediately. I wisely kept my mouth shut. As soon as I got home, my editor messaged, "Babe, how'd it go?" I sighed, "Not great. The guy's too cold. I couldn't seduce him at all." My editor hit the nail on the head. "Babe, your styling needs work too. Go sexier." She had a point. Unfortunately, my wardrobe was mostly t-shirts and jeans. After digging forever, I found one black cocktail dress I'd bought for last year's publishing house party. Stealing myself, I cut off half the skirt and lowered the neckline. Perfect. I spent all night perfecting my look, completely forgetting to book an appointment. When I rushed back to the hospital the next day, sure enough, only teaching appointments were left. I lay on the dental chair calmly, letting the students examine my teeth. After they left, I climbed down from the chair. While Grayson was focused on typing, I removed my jacket, revealing the short black dress underneath. "Dr. Fletcher." Grayson froze. "You..." The door suddenly pushed open. A ponytailed student peeked in, already blushing. "Dr. Fletcher, sorry, I forgot my class notes." Before I even saw her face clearly, a white coat was thrown over my head. The scent of lemon and antiseptic uniquely Grayson's enveloped me completely. "I can't see." I struggled. A shrill scream pierced the air. "Ah, a ghost!" Panicked footsteps followed, then the sound of the door closing. I wrestled free from the white coat. The student had vanished. Confused, I asked, "Where'd she go?" He pointed at the mirror. "You scared her away." "Nonsense." I turned to look. Grayson's white coat was way too big on me. When my head was covered and moving around underneath, I did kind of look like a headless white monster. Plus, I'd pulled the curtains closed earlier, not wanting anyone to see. The hospital building was old, with peeling walls. If it weren't for Grayson's presence, the room and I together gave off serious horror vibes. Worse, the scream had alerted the entire floor. Footsteps sounded in the hallway. Someone knocked. "Dr. Fletcher, what happened? Open the door!" Grayson strode toward the door, his hand on the handle. In desperation, I wrapped my arms around his waist from behind, practically plastered against him. "Don't open it!" He paused. After several seconds of silence, his hands covered mine, pressing gently. "Scarlett, let go first." "No, I'll die before I let go." If Grayson opened that door, everyone would know I'd tried to seduce Dr. Fletcher and been mistaken for a ghost instead. "No, absolutely not." Mustering all my strength, I climbed onto him like a koala, arms locked around his neck. "Don't open the door." His voice changed, hoarse. "Get down!" "No." The words barely left my mouth before the world spun. Somehow, I was pressed against the wall. I watched as a mist clouded his usually clear eyes. The mist thickened, becoming flames that reflected my image, as if ready to consume me whole. A ray of sunlight slipped through the curtain gap. I panicked. "Let me go!" He raised an eyebrow, lips curving. Who just said she'd die before letting go? My eyes darted everywhere. "There are patients outside." He released me and opened the door a crack, calmly explaining, "It's fine." A patient with severe tooth pain screamed, and a student misunderstood. Outside, understanding laughter sounded before people dispersed. Grayson closed the door and looked at me, his eyes dark as ink. "Why did you dress like this? To see me?" My heart was in chaos, but before I could answer, a child's innocent voice came from outside. "Mommy, why did the doctor uncle lock the door? Is he doing something he doesn't want people to see?" "Me. Grayson." He cleared his throat. "Should I call in the next patient?" I nodded and silently went to find my jacket. The door opened. A little girl holding her mother's hand entered. Seeing me, she asked, "Auntie, why is your face so red?" Grayson answered for me. "Her tooth hurts," she cried from the pain. The girl nodded seriously. "Auntie, you need to brush your teeth properly." "Okay, I know." I walked out dejectedly. Grayson called after me, "Wait for me." Give me half an hour. I'll take you somewhere." Was this asking me on a date? "Sure, I'll wait." I gave him a brilliant smile. Half an hour later, he drove me out of the hospital. I contained my excitement the whole ride, following him with flushed cheeks into an art studio. "Are we making pottery?" I examined the various ceramic pieces on the shelves, feeling rather excited. I imagined sitting in his lap, our hands clasped together, slowly experiencing the clay's texture. The romance of ghost. I pointed to a heart-shaped cup on the shelf. This one looks really nice. He just made a sound of acknowledgement, then walked past me and handed an X-ray film to the pottery instructor. Can you sculpt this? Curious, I leaned over and froze. Isn't this the X-ray of my teeth from the hospital? He nodded with a smile. Scarlett, you don't take care of your teeth at all. Perhaps if you see your dental condition directly, you'll start caring for them. Me, I'd held back enough. I couldn't hold back anymore. Get lost! I threw him one furious roar and stormed out. My brain must have been waterlogged to think of dating Grayson, and completely lead-filled to think of seducing him. Since childhood, he'd tormented me countless times. In 6th grade, my crafty deskmate folded me a paper crane during class pink paper with my favorite Chibi Maruko-chan printed on the wings. I'd showed off the crane to Grayson for an entire period, but during bathroom break, my crane ended up on the homeroom teacher's desk. That night, my parents made me write, "Study hard, improve every day, 100 times." My deskmate never spoke another word to me. Years later, I learned from Mrs. Fletcher that the person who'd stolen my crane and reported it was Grayson. In 8th grade, I enthusiastically asked the class genius to tutor me in English, even preparing lavish compliments. Ordinary me often looks up at you standing at the mountain peak. The day after I sent those compliments, Mom bought me a huge stack of English books and told me sternly, "If you don't understand, ask Grayson." As for the genius, Grayson crushed him in every subsequent competition. His confident smile vanished forever. I vowed never again to share my secrets with Grayson. But my disasters continued. Freshman year, I simply went with friends to watch the school heartthrob play basketball. That game, Grayson blocked him mercilessly, a crushing defeat. After that, the heartthrob avoided me. He told everyone, "Don't get close to Scarlett Chen. She brings bad luck." Thanks to Grayson, I became completely invisible to the opposite sex. Throughout my entire school years, no one pursued me. Still single at 25. The angrier I got, the longer I wandered outside, not returning until dark. Just as I reached my building, a figure emerged from behind a tree. Scarlett. He called my name. 3. I glared coldly at Grayson, who'd apparently been waiting for who knows how long. What? Under the dim streetlight, shadows fell across his face, making his features even more striking. The night breeze carried an unknown floral scent, moonlight settling in his eyes. He was silent for a moment. "Where were you?" "None of your business." I turned away, expression ice cold. "Say what you need to say. If not, leave." "I have something." He handed me a box. "This is for you." I opened it, and one glance made me furious. Grayson had actually made a clay model of my teeth and brought it here. Too much. I raised my fist, ready to smash it. As my fist cut through the air, I caught a flash in Grayson's eyes, a light too familiar, reminding me of childhood torments. In 1st grade, during lunch break, when he sneaked me a red apple, his eyes held that exact same light. Back then, too young to recognize his scheming, I'd bitten into it and knocked out my already loose baby tooth. Blood stained half the apple. I'd cried hysterically. I shuddered and quickly pulled back my hand. "I don't want it." "Take it back." Grayson refused. I absolutely wouldn't, trying to shove the box back at him. He was a full head taller than me. To gain the upper hand, I jumped up, but landing, I tripped on a pebble and performed a spectacular swan dive, tackling him to the ground. My forehead crashed into his chin. It hurt. Behind me, someone gasped, followed by my mother's shocked yet obviously delighted voice. "Scarlett, what are you doing? In the dark like this, you can't take advantage of Grayson." I was about to get up and explain when Mrs. Fletcher's booming voice joined in. "Oh my, our Grayson is still an innocent boy. Scarlett, you'd better treat him right." My mother immediately promised, "Don't worry, my Scarlett will take responsibility for Grayson, or I'll break her legs." Me. At the restaurant, Mom and Mrs. Fletcher had already progressed from discussing wedding banquet tables to where to buy bedding sets. Mom was practically glowing. "Lucky we had the sudden urge to check on you two. We arrive and catch you doing that." Mrs. Fletcher nodded vigorously. "Actually, our Grayson has had feelings for Scarlett for a long time. I perked up my ears, but then Grayson coughed, and Mrs. Fletcher's sentence ended abruptly. Had feelings for me what? I couldn't help asking. Mrs. Fletcher chuckled and raised her cup. Nothing. You'll find out eventually. Watching Mom and Mrs. Fletcher start planning grandchild custody schedules, I quickly elbowed Grayson. Explain. What? Tell them they misunderstood. I lowered my voice. You heard if I say we're not right for each other, Mom will break my legs. He gave me a reassuring look. I relaxed, poured myself water, and quietly watched his performance. Grayson raised his hand, slowly unbuttoning his collar, pulling it aside casually. Aunt Chen, Mom, actually. Mrs. Fletcher turned, immediately drawn to the marks on his hand. What happened to your hand? Like mother, like daughter, Mom followed and instantly recognized my bite marks, shocked. That's... Scarlett bit you? Tisk tisk. That girl is still bullying you. Grayson, absolutely. Definitely did that on purpose. I was so angry my liver hurt, my head hurt. I gulped down water. The ice-cold lemon water hit my teeth. Long, dormant toothache struck like lightning. I clutched my cheek, unable to speak through the pain. Warmth suddenly enveloped my left hand. Grayson's elegant fingers found the pressure point between my thumb and forefinger, pressing with precise firmness. After just a few presses, my tooth pain eased. Still hurt? He looked at me, concern overflowing from his eyes. I found it almost funny. This man was truly interesting, performing such devoted care in front of my mother, while privately tormenting me for fun. What was his goal? I shook off his hand and sat up straight. Dr. Fletcher is the hospital's top star. I wouldn't dare trouble you. Mom glared at me, about to explode, but Grayson just smiled. For you, Scarlett, I always have an opening. No thanks. That meal left me thoroughly frustrated. By the time we got home, I realized somehow that ugly clay tooth had been shoved back into my hands. I stared hatefully at that enormous, hideous tooth in the box for ages before suddenly finding creative inspiration. I could draw a children's picture book with tooth characters as protagonists. I even had the title Toothy's Big Adventure. I drew non-stop, finally settling on a draft as dawn approached. Fighting exhaustion, I sent it to my editor and collapsed into bed. After only 4 hours of sleep, Mom yanked me out of bed and marched me to the hospital. Scarlett Chen, today's the big day for your tooth extraction. Sleep deprived, my brain was mush. I absently appeased Mom while checking my editor's reply. Babe, the tooth character concept is great, but flesh out the plot more. I replied, got it. The editor asked, what about the seduction? No way was I succeeding. Too lazy to type, I sent a voice message. Can't do it. Too hard, I've given up. The editor sent a voice message back. The hospital was noisy, so I used speakerphone. A woman should never say she can't do it. If you really think it's too hard, just ask him directly. If he agrees, seduce him. If not, tell him to get lost. I nodded, then sighed. Unfortunately, reality was never that simple. I put away my phone, planning to check if my turn was coming. Turning, I found Dr. Fletcher standing beside me, his usually cool face tinged with suspicious redness, eyes dark and unreadable, letting passing patients stare while his gaze remained fixed on me. Seeing I'd noticed him, he looked away. It's your turn. Okay. Grayson moved slowly. Extracting one wisdom tooth took over half an hour. He used extra anesthetic, yet my stubborn wisdom tooth refused to budge. The assisting nurse couldn't stand it anymore, half joking. Dr. Fletcher, are you nervous? I've never seen you sweat this much during an extraction. Grayson applied more force. I felt something finally dislodge, followed by the sound of a tooth hitting the tray. He exhaled with relief, looking up to wipe his forehead. She's sensitive to pain. I didn't want to use too much force. Nonsense. He was clearly incompetent, but blamed me. But I'd just been numbed. My entire mouth was numb. When I opened it, only meaningless sounds emerged. The nurse's look changed, covering her mouth to giggle. I glared hard at Grayson and went to get my medication. He followed me out. I took the day off. Let me drive you home. No, mumph. Fine. I couldn't refuse. Grayson drove me all the way to my building. The engine kept running. His hands gripped the steering wheel, staring straight ahead, his eyes concealing turbulent waves. I couldn't be bothered guessing his thoughts. I unbuckled my seatbelt. I'm leaving. Scarlett? He said my name just 2 simple syllables, yet he rolled them on his tongue with tender intimacy. Before I could stop, his hand had gripped my wrist. One gentle tug and I fell back into the seat. I tried to pry his fingers loose, only to discover his palm was slick with sweat. Scarlett, he called me again, voice trembling, careful and cautious. Pink mist clouded his usually cool face, his gaze devout yet determined. I'm willing. I didn't understand. He was willing to what? He said nothing more, just turned off the engine and got out, heading straight for my building. Meanwhile, I, the actual resident, lagged behind, jogging to catch up. What are you doing? He didn't stop, glancing sideways. Earlier, I called Mom, told her to take Aunt Chen shopping. I was even more confused. What did that have to do with me? I unlocked the door. He followed me in. The moment the door closed, I felt the room temperature spike. The distance between us shrank closer and closer. Just then, my phone rang. Annoyed, I tossed it onto the nightstand. But my finger slipped the call connected. My editor's booming voice filled the quiet bedroom. Babe, I forgot to ask what's your new book's male lead personality? If he's still that aloof type, having the female lead ask directly won't work, it'll break character. Grayson suddenly stopped and straightened up. What personality? What male lead? My editor's voice paused, then broke into giggles. Oh, you've got a man there. I'll hang up then. The bedroom returned to silence, just Grayson and me staring at each other. I forced myself up, trying to hook my arms around his neck. Should we continue? The dark intensity in his eyes gradually faded, his face resuming its usual coolness, lips curving with a hint of mockery. This was my mistake. I misunderstood. I'm sorry. He stood to leave. My heart suddenly felt hollow. Instinctively, I reached for him. My fingers brushed his, but ultimately I caught only empty air. I definitely caught him. He had dodged. I sat on the bed, my gaze following his retreating back, watching him leave, watching him open the door, watching him go. Then the door closed. The room grew even quieter, so quiet I started hearing things. Someone sobbing softly. Strange. It wasn't raining inside. Why was my face wet? I sat dazed for a long time. A knot of emotion stuck in my chest, couldn't rise, couldn't fall, just aching painfully. 4. Grayson and I lost contact. Mom was very displeased, nagging endlessly. I finally sent her home with a train ticket, claiming I needed quiet for my new picture book. My world grew peaceful. I could focus on creating. Purely out of spite, I decided to add a dentist character to my new picture book, holding a dental drill, radiating intimidating authority, definitely scary enough to make kids cry. I vindictively told readers in the book, "Children, if you don't protect your teeth, they'll be sent to the great demon Fletcher." My editor loved this new character, even suggesting, "Babe, make this a series." My career took off smoothly from there. 2 months later, I heard news of Grayson again. Mom mentioned on the phone, "Your Uncle Zhang's daughter just returned from studying abroad. He's desperately asking if I can set her up with Grayson." Instant fury. I snapped. Don't ever mention that person again. Bad luck. I hung up. But the anger wouldn't settle. Just then, the clay tooth I'd casually tossed on the bookshelf caught my eye. What once inspired creativity now only reminded me of Grayson's infuriating face. I grabbed it and smashed it hard. The clay shattered on the floor. White light flashed among the fragments, drawing an elegant arc through the air before landing at my feet. It was a ring, a diamond ring. I held the ring between my fingers, a bold idea forming one I didn't dare confirm. My heart felt like an egg in a frying pan, sizzling and suffering. Could Grayson possibly? I couldn't wait another second. I immediately called Grayson. The call wouldn't connect. A cold robotic voice kept repeating, "The number you have dialed cannot be reached." Regret and grievance filled my heart. He'd said himself he misunderstood. So why was he blaming me, blocking me? I took the ring to the hospital to find Grayson. His office door was locked. A passing nurse asked curiously, "Looking for Dr. Fletcher? He hasn't been taking appointments these past 2 months. He went to a rural area for volunteer medical service." Rural area? Where? The nurse gave me an address. "Are you urgently looking for Dr. Fletcher? He should be back in about 2 weeks. "Yes, very urgent. I've already waited 20+ years. Can't wait 2 more weeks." I thanked the nurse, clutching that address, taking planes, hard-seat trains, minivans, tractors. 2 days later, I arrived at that picturesque mountain village on an ox cart. In the village center plaza, a banner reading, "Warmly welcome XX Hospital Volunteer Medical Team," flapped loudly in the mountain breeze. My heart drummed along. I saw my childhood friend in white, standing in the plaza center, sunlight generously illuminating his shoulders, casting a long shadow behind him beautiful as a painting. At one end of that shadow, just steps away, stood me. Grayson. I called to him, like countless days walking to and from school together. His figure examining an elderly woman's teeth froze. He turned, disbelief in his eyes as they fixed on mine. His face overlapped with his youthful, handsome features, the most familiar face from my memories. "Why are you here?" he asked. I stepped forward, trembling hands pulling the ring from my collar, still warm from my body. "I saw this. I want to know what you meant by giving this to me?" He sighed softly like a laugh, like helplessness. But before he could answer, the elderly woman he'd been examining shuffled toward me, flashing her single remaining front tooth in a grin. "Girl? What is Dr. Fletcher to you? Worth coming all this way to find him?" Her accent was heavy. I barely caught "what is" and "all this way." Those two phrases were like needles piercing the softest, most hidden part of my heart. I looked at Grayson. He stood there quietly, waiting. Not running away this time, just waiting for my answer. The villagers had gathered around us, curious and smiling. The volunteer medical team members whispered among themselves. The entire plaza seemed to hold its breath. My throat felt tight. I'd spent 25 years never saying what I actually felt. 25 years of watching him from the corner of my eye, pretending I didn't care when he walked away, pretending my heart didn't race when he got too close. "I don't know what you are to me," I finally said, my voice breaking. "I only know that even though you've tormented me since childhood, I'd always forgive you. You scared away everyone who might pursue me. I told myself I didn't care. You pretended not to know me at the hospital. I swallowed it down." Tears were flowing now, hot and unstoppable. "But I hate when you ignore me. I hate even more hearing that others like you. Because somewhere along the way, between the mud fights and the stolen paper cranes and the basketball games, you stopped being just my annoying neighbor. You became, I couldn't finish." My voice broke completely. Grayson closed the distance between us in 3 strides. His hands cupped my face, thumbs brushing away tears. His own eyes were suspiciously bright. "Became what?" he whispered. "You became the person I measure everyone else against, and they all fall short." The words barely left my mouth before his lips were on mine, not gentle this time, but desperate, like he'd been drowning and I was air. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to mine. "Scarlett Chen," he said, voice rough with emotion. "I've been in love with you since we were 7 years old. That's 18 years of watching other boys look at you. 18 years of being terrified you'd choose someone else. 18 years of not knowing how to tell you that you're the only person who's ever mattered. Then why?" I hiccuped through tears. "Why did you sabotage everyone?" "Because I was a coward." He pulled back just enough to look at me properly. "I couldn't bear to confess and risk losing you completely, but I also couldn't stand watching you with anyone else. So I scared them off and told myself it was enough just to stay by your side. That's the dumbest strategy I've ever heard." He laughed, actually laughed, eyes crinkling at the corners. "I know, Mrs. Fletcher calls it emotionally constipated. But Scarlett." His expression turned serious again. "That day at your apartment, when your editor talked about the male lead being just a character for your story, I thought maybe that's all I'd ever be to you. A convenient placeholder, someone familiar, but not actually wanted." "You idiot!" I grabbed his collar, yanking him down to my eye level. "I bit you. Twice. I dressed like an absolute fool trying to get your attention. I chased you to a remote village in the middle of nowhere. Does that sound like you're just a placeholder? When you put it that way," the corner of his mouth tugged up, "I may have been an idiot. May have been? Am currently an idiot." He reached for my left hand, where I still clutched the ring. "But I'm an idiot who's been carrying this ring for 3 months, waiting for the right moment. An idiot who made you a clay tooth because I wanted to give you something to remember me by. An idiot who volunteered for rural service because I needed to get away before I did something stupid like beg you to love me back." His fingers trembled slightly as he took the ring from my palm. I know I have no right to ask this after everything I've put you through. But Scarlett? He dropped to one knee right there in the village plaza, in front of the elderly woman and the medical team and a growing crowd of delighted villagers. Will you let this idiot spend the rest of his life making it up to you? I looked down at him, Grayson Fletcher, the boy who'd pulled my hair in kindergarten, the teenager who'd glowered at every boy who smiled at me, the man who'd just confessed 18 years of secret devotion, the boy who'd once given me an apple that knocked out my tooth, the man who was now offering me everything. Yes, I said simply, but on one condition. Anything. Stop sabotaging my love life. You're stuck with me now. There's no one left to sabotage anyway. He slid the ring onto my finger, then stood and pulled me into his arms, his laugh rumbling through his chest into mine. Deal! The plaza erupted in applause and cheers. The elderly woman cackled delightedly. Someone started playing festive music from a portable speaker. And there, surrounded by strangers who felt like family, I kissed my childhood friend, my tormentor, my protector, my future husband, and finally felt like I'd come home. Epilogue. 6 months later, Grayson and I got married. My picture book, Toothy's Big Adventure, became a massive bestseller, topping both children's and general fiction charts, which created an unexpected problem. One evening, Grayson came home early, looking genuinely distressed for the first time since our engagement. Scarlett, I got complaints today. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been drafting the sequel. What happened? Multiple parents filed complaints. More than one. He sat heavily on the couch. Kids coming in for dental work here, doctor. Fletcher and burst into tears, refusing to let me examine them. I bit my lip, guilt gnawing at me. Because of my book? Because of your book. He pulled out a well-worn copy of Toothy's Big Adventure from his bag. The cover showed a menacing dentist character labeled The Great Demon Fletcher, brandishing a drill. Oh no! I covered my face. Grayson, I'm so sorry. I was angry when I wrote that and... Scarlett. His voice was gentle. He moved to sit beside me, pulling my hands away from my face. Look at me. I peeked through my fingers. He was smiling, actually smiling. I'm not mad. I just need you to compensate me. Compensate how? I asked warily. Instead of answering, he kissed me slow and thorough and devastating. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were dark with promise. Write me as the hero in your next book. Make me so charming that kids will actually want to visit the dentist. That's going to take a lot of research. I managed breathlessly. Then we'd better start now. He stood, pulling me up with him. I'll help you gather material. Very hands-on research. Wait, let me turn off the lights first. But he was already tugging me toward the bedroom, laughing at my protests. Poor me, a newly successful best-selling author daytime working hard on manuscripts, trying to rehabilitate Dr. Fletcher's image, nighttime working on very different kinds of research. Exhausting, incredibly exhausting. But I was happy. My childhood friend and I met in infancy. Our bond began playing in the mud. We weathered 25 years of miscommunication and stubbornness, and we finally found each other, really found each other at exactly the right moment. Nothing too early, nothing too late. Just right. The end.